Jesus of Nazareth is by far the most famous person in history. But what if I told you that the truth about Jesus was actually held back from you? That everything you think you know about Jesus is either false or only half true? Do you believe in religious arguments, but have a hard time actually seeing the kingdom of heaven right here, right now? Well, to put it in religious terms, the devil is the cause of this. It is like this because he fooled you very well. Are you an atheist? Again, the devil put these ridiculous moral convictions and all the hypocrisies that you see in religion on purpose so you would blame God and deny him. But today, I'm going to spit some truth to open your eyes to another side of things. Because Jesus was not only the most famous person in history, he was indeed God incarnate. But I'm going to let you in on a little secret today. So are you. You have within you the potential to be the same as Jesus. You can realize the same eternal bliss that he walked in, spoke of, and lived in till his last breath. And he continues to reside in this bliss to this day and will for all eternity. In the Gospel of John 10:34, Jesus quoted Psalm 82 where it says, "I said, you are gods." Jesus uses this to emphasize that if Scripture can refer to those who receive God's word as gods, then it's not blasphemous for him to claim to be a son of God. In fact, in the King James Bible, it says, "I am the Son of God," with the word "the" italicized. This italicization was done on purpose to fool the masses into thinking that it was emphasized, and thus Jesus was claiming that he was different from us. But if we dig deeper, we will find that italicizations were words that were interpolated in the Bible by the translators. The original text read, "I am Son of God," without the word "the," which actually translates from the original Greek that was translated to current English to mean "I am a Son of God." Jesus was claiming that he is divine, as are you and I. It never benefited the church to teach you this or any of the other wonderful teachings of Yeshua that were mystical in nature. Read the Gospel of Thomas and you will see that Yeshua was indeed a yogi. We'll dive into that in a minute. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notifications icon so you can stay up to date with our content, and we will surely continue to release videos like this one. Misconceptions surrounding Jesus often stem from mainstream religious narratives that may be incomplete or misleading. Many people view Jesus solely through the lens of organized religion, which can obscure the true essence of his teachings and experiences. For instance, the idea that Jesus was simply a religious figure overlooks his deeper connection with spiritual practices that align with ancient wisdom. Atheists might feel skeptical towards God due to the moral convictions they observe within the religious institutions. Many see hypocrisy and contradictions, leading them to question the existence of a benevolent deity. However, understanding Jesus as a yogi can shift this perspective tremendously. His teachings and practices were deeply rooted in spirituality, focusing on inner transformation rather than dogma. Consider that Jesus practiced semen retention, a technique he likely learned during his travels to India and Tibet. During his formative years, from 13 to 30, he studied with the wise men from the East, which were actually the rishis of India. Think about it. While the church's story of the Nativity includes the wise men from the East, and that sounds poetic, is there actually a country called the East? These influences were pivotal in shaping Yeshua's spiritual approach. It's interesting to note that the whole wording of the East, quote unquote, was seemingly intentional, as was leaving out the stories of everything that happened to him between the ages of 13 and 30 from the Bible. If these truths were fully known, it would threaten the foundations of organized religion and the financial support that they receive. This aspect of his journey is essential to understanding the depth of his teachings. By delving into these truths, we can begin to see Jesus not as just a religious icon, but as a spiritual guru whose wisdom can guide us all on all of our own paths. One example of the spiritual truths is found in the Gospel of Thomas. For those who don't know, the Gospel of Thomas is the only written record of the sayings of the living Jesus. Not surprisingly, this was deemed to be heresy by the church. The Gospel of Thomas, in its opening statement, reads, "Whoever discovers the interpretation of these sayings will not taste death." This line sets the tone for understanding the deeper meaning behind Jesus' teachings. Later on, it includes a powerful reminder Do not be concerned from morning until evening, and from evening until morning about what you will wear. At first glance, to the spiritual novice, this might seem like simple advice to avoid worry and practice mindfulness. While that interpretation holds some truth, it merely scratches the surface of a much deeper message. Those who uncover the true meaning recognize that Jesus is speaking about life itself. Our physical bodies are merely temporary manifestations of duality. If we do not achieve the same spiritual state that Jesus had, we might find ourselves later returning to inhabit yet another body. And thus, your entire life and your ego is but something you are wearing for a mere day or even millisecond in the divine scale of infinity. What Yeshua is really conveying here is that the body you have now is just something you are wearing for a limited period. In the figurative tomorrow, you will no longer be wearing it, so there is no need to be concerned about it or anything of it. All of the worries that we have about health, wealth, family, relationships, these are all ultimately concerns of the body. Once you understand that you may not be just a body, these worries lose their grip on you. This single sentence, along with many other sayings in the Gospel of Thomas, have the potential to liberate souls from their suffering. To understand the nature of Jesus, we must explore the concept of him as God incarnate. Throughout history, many have recognized Jesus not just as a historical figure, but as the embodiment of the divine. His teachings, actions, and miracles reflect an extraordinary connection to the divine source, demonstrating a level of wisdom and compassion that transcends ordinary human experience. Jesus embodied love, forgiveness, and truth, serving as a living example of divine principles at work in the world. However, the story of Jesus doesn't end with just his divinity. In fact, one of his most profound teachings is that we too possess the potential for divinity. In the Gospel of John, Jesus quoted Psalm 82:6, saying, "You are gods," reinforcing the idea that each of us has a spark of the divine within. This means the same potential for enlightenment, love, and spiritual awakening that Jesus exhibited is available to everyone. By following his true teachings and embracing our inner divinity, we can unlock our true potential and experience the same bliss and connection to God that Jesus exemplified. Moreover, the interpretation of Jesus as the Son of God has been influenced by the italicization of the word "the" in some of the translations of the Bible. This emphasis falsely suggests a distinction between Jesus and humanity, implying that he holds a unique status. However, examining the original texts reveals that the intended meaning was something closer to "he was a Son of God." This interpretation suggests that Jesus' divine nature is not exclusive to him, but rather indicative of a potential that exists in all of us. By acknowledging this interpretation, we can shift our understanding of Jesus from being a singular divine figure to a representation of the divine potential that lies within all of us. This perspective encourages individuals to recognize their own divinity and aspire to achieve a deeper spiritual connection. Understanding the historical context of biblical translations is essential to grasping the true essence of Jesus' teachings. Many translations, particularly those from Greek, have undergone changes over the centuries. Furthermore, the original texts were often written in Hebrew and Aramaic, adding another level of translation to Greek. These modifications can alter the intended meanings and dilute the original messages. For instance, the nuances in the Greek language often contain layers of meaning that do not fully translate to English. This can lead to misconceptions about Jesus' life and teachings. The Gospel of Thomas offers valuable insights that differ from mainstream biblical texts. Unlike the more widely known Gospels of Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John, it presents a collection of sayings attributed to the living Jesus, emphasizing his mystical and yogic nature. In this Gospel, Jesus is depicted as a figure who transcends traditional religious boundaries, sharing wisdom that aligns with divine spiritual truths that can also be found in Eastern religions. This is why on his travels to Tibet, he was immediately recognized as the Buddha Isa. He was given Buddha status because of his divine level of understanding of the Buddhic traditions. This portrayal invites readers to view Jesus not just as a religious teacher, but also as a spiritual seeker, one of us, someone who sought deeper truths and spiritual awakening. The only difference is he committed steadfast and went all the way on the path. By examining the Gospel of Thomas alongside mainstream texts, we can gain a richer understanding of Jesus' teachings and the spiritual practices he embraced. This broader perspective encourages individuals to explore the depths of their spirituality and consider the transformative potential that lies within their own selves. Recognizing your own divinity is the first step towards unlocking your spiritual growth. It's one thing to recognize and intellectually understand, and another thing to realize and experientially experience. Each of us carries a spark of the divine within us, waiting to be nurtured and expressed. To fully connect with this inner essence, consider the following practical steps inspired by Jesus' teachings. Start by engaging in self-reflection. Take time each day to meditate and silence your mind. This practice helps you to understand yourself better and fosters a deeper connection with your inner self. Next, practice love and compassion towards yourself and others. Jesus emphasized the importance of love in his teachings. By cultivating a loving attitude, you create a positive energy that encourages growth and transformation. Additionally, explore the practice of mindfulness. Being present in the moment in everything you do allows you to experience life more fully and recognize the divine in everyday life experiences. If God is talking to you right now and you're in your mind thinking about XYZ, then you won't see it. So practice mindfulness in everything that you do. Lastly, embrace the idea of service. Helping others not only uplifts those around you, but also strengthens your spiritual connection. Jesus lived a life of service, showing us that our actions can reflect our divine nature. By taking these steps, you can embark on a journey of self-discovery and spiritual awakening. Remember, the potential for divinity lies within you, waiting to be realized. We have explored the multifaceted nature of Jesus, highlighting his divine potential and the teachings that reveal our own capacity for enlightenment. The notion that we too possess a spark of the divine within us emphasizes that Jesus' message is not just for a select few, but is accessible to everyone. We discussed how translations and interpretations of biblical texts, particularly from Greek and other languages, may have obscured the true essence of Jesus' teachings. The Gospel of Thomas provides deeper insights, guiding us towards self-realization. By recognizing our divine nature, we can embark on a journey of spiritual growth, embracing practices that help us to connect with our true selves. The teachings of Jesus serve as a reminder that we all have the potential to experience the same bliss and connection to God that he exemplified. Check out this video for a deep dive on another example of divinity incarnate that also happened to live in recent times. Sri Ramana and his Atma Vichara. He was known worldwide for this practice, which indeed will shed your ego entirely.